And we're live. Welcome to Panfish Nation. Hey, I got it right, James. I didn't say Panfish Weekly.
That's right. You did. You did get it correct this time. So,
it's hard. Thank you. I'm trying. We're enjoying a little of this lemon lime bubbly. Try not to drink Diet Pop anymore. And man, am I getting sleepy by not doing it. Kind of like when your coffee maker, like when your coffee maker broke and you like took the wrath of Dockery out on everybody around you.
I don't know why you want to bring up those sad, tragic days like that. It's sad, Mark. It really is.
It's sad. We got everybody coming in the chat. Let's take a look and see who's out there. We'll start out by saying hello to everybody. Thanks for everybody for coming. I want to say we appreciate it. Our guest had something come up. He'll be on next week, so stay tuned. We'll get that taken care of for you. We'll get him on. Let's see who's in chat, James. I see 2 old vets. I see Betty, a couple crosses fishing. I see 2 stands fishing. Country boy catfishing. You ever notice that country boy is a bad word in Google land?
Yes.
I don't know why that is.
And John boy.
And John boy, they don't like that either.
I think we've narrowed it down to the boy. They do not like that phrase.
You think that's what it is?
I think that's what it is. Before you get calling any more people out, I've got 2 things to say. One, Mo Creek, I'll get back to you after the show about that, and we'll work something out. And I want to say hi to Deke before Mark does, because I would never forget my favorite business.
I said hello to Betty before you, so we're good. And I'm gonna say hello to Katie. Katie, Dockery, hello. And a special shout out. A special shout out to that fine young man, Harley Dockery. Who is responsible? Well, Harley and Katie are responsible for the infamous Doc video.
I'm never
hence the name
anywhere ever again.
Dockery. How come no one's like? I've been waiting for somebody to take that idea from me without mentioning it, calling that act Dockery. I Dockeried it.
No.
Kind of like Munson. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Can I go back to saying hello to the good people?
Go back to saying hello to the people in chat, Mark.
Panfish. Yes. All right. Bill Podshot, the boss man, I hear is his nickname. Miss Cindy Stokes. Hopefully she's taking good care of Lyle. If you guys don't know, Lyle's feeling a little under the weather, so we're going to cover for him for a couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll live up to your expectations from watching him for a long time. He's been on with Catfish Weekly for, was it 7 years or 5 years?
7 years.
7 years.
Coming up with 7 years.
7 years ago, I wasn't old enough to drink.
Yeah, but I don't understand why Lyle signed up for that extra long class, to have those guys experiment with hunting like that.
Is that what it is?
It's just a prostate. Well, yeah, I heard it was some sort of a prostate class that the college has to teach, and he signed up. It's like 3 weeks.
I thought is it a prostate trial? Where they treat an exam.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So,
hello again, Miss Cindy. You're well worth saying hello to twice, most definitely. Hello, going Country Boy Catfish and Dale Hayslip. Dave Garchar, what's up? Eric Burnside. Eric Burnside had a couple of giveaways. He gave away some, I think it was for a subscriber giveaway. He had reached a certain level. I want to say 200 maybe. I could be mistaken. I apologize if I got that wrong, Eric. But he gave away some of my favorite stuff. He gave away 2 gift cards to Subway sandwiches, and he gave 1 gift card to Chick-fil-A. Man after my own heart. Ernie Brown, what's up, Ernie? Fishing with the Chad. Great show tonight, Chad. Way to go. And I'm willing to bet that you have Crocs in your closet, Chad. So I don't doubt that at all. Fishing and Cooking with Mike Chavez. What's going on, Mike? Fishing the Mid-South. What's up, buddy? Georgia Fisherman. How are you, sir? Hello, D. Getting hooked on Fishing with D. I'm saying hello to her, making sure I stress to her. I am saying hello to her because I get in all sorts of trouble if I miss her. Mike Greenwell Fishing. There's that fine young lad, Harley Dockery. Hilljack Catfishing.
Harley's actually out fishing with my grandson Easton tonight. So
that's fantastic. How you doing, Easton? That's a cool name. I like that name a lot. I really do. Good choice of names there, Harley. Hilljack Catfishing again. John Patrick Jr., JP3. Justin's Fishing Fetish. You notice he has a wrench? Nobody can touch him in here?
I noticed Gabby's dad has a wrench. I noticed.
How did that happen? Kevin Baker, Nuts and Bolts Fishing. Michael Morella, what's going on, Michael? He was live today. It was nice to chat with him for a little while I was taking lunch off of working. Mike Irvin, what's going on, Mike? Mindy Hogan, I believe, is that a new name? Do you recall seeing Mindy in there?
No, I think that is a new name.
Okay, well, hello, Mindy, and welcome to Panfish Nation. We're happy to have you. Mo Creek Fishing, what's going on, Robert? How are you? He's been working really hard this week. Muskrat Adventures. Muskrat is having Brian from Flint Hill Catfishing on tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. P City Smitty Catfishing. I think I finally learned how to say that name without fumbling it up, and that's a lot for me, James. You know that.
That is a lot.
I get to talking, and my brain outruns my mouth, and I can't keep up, or the other way around. Philip Williams, what's going on, Philip? I believe that's another new one. If not, welcome back. If so, welcome to the show. Sogo. Steve, what's up? Sunfish Assassin, big fan of the show. He was out there cooking on his channel all week, or in the past couple weeks. Thomas Littlepage. Uncle Lou, what's going on, Uncle Lou? And your boy Troy Catfishing. I'm seeing names pop up. Robert Andrews. I'm going to go back through this list real quick, and then we can always check it again. Because if I don't get you now, Fishing Chick, what's up, Fishing Chick? Welcome. David Garchar. Dan's Creations and Adventures. He made some cool signs for Kevin and Anna. Those were pretty cool. Kevin posted them all over social media today. Dale Hayslip, one of the finer names in catfish. Chad Nolte, that just sounds like a good catfishing name, or a good fishing name in general, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
There's a gentleman, I forget what his first name, but the last name is Nolte, that's one of the co-hosts on the Bent podcast from the Meat Eater crew. I listen to them guys a lot, so that brings that to name. So, all right, I think I got most of everybody. If I missed anybody, Christina, what's going on, Christina? Welcome. I don't want to miss one of the ladies. I get in a lot of trouble for that. Thank you, Dockery, for really rubbing it in with Dee for today. I do not appreciate it whatsoever.
Look, you asked me to help out. I'm here to help out, Mark. I'm just a helping type of person.
Somebody actually called me a very nice fella just now. Hilljack Catfishing. Do you believe that?
Wait till you get to know him, Hilljack. That may not always be the case.
Have to talk to my wife about that. She thinks I'm kind of nice on most days. All right, let's get out of bait shop mode. I've been watching that bait shop post links in there that I'm in bait shop mode. Let's start talking about panfish, man. So today we were talking a little bit in private chat, and you had a list of your catches for the year.
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you want to share that with the crowd? You guys got to hear this. He keeps track of everything he catches.
Here's the thing, all right? At the beginning of the year, last year, at the end of last year, somebody had asked me how many fish I caught in 1 year, and it got me thinking. I have no idea. I really and truly don't. I mean, I fish a lot compared to, most people and stuff like that. So I started keeping a daily, every time I'd go out, a daily log of how many fish I caught, what kind of fish, all this stuff. Well, we all thought 2020, 2021 was going to be better. It went downhill for me right off the bat. I was out fishing, hurt my foot, ended up in this stupid boot, and it's limited my mobility as far as where I can fish and how I can fish and stuff like that. So after 2 months, I can finally say I am free of the boot. I no longer have to wear this stupid thing. So I'm going to start me a big bonfire, and it's going up in flames. So, but as of right now, I have, let me make sure I get this right. Okay, I have fished 56 days so far this year. I have caught 603 fish, and of those, I have turned loose 417 fish. And I've caught trout, bluegill, red-eared sunfish, flathead, channel cat, blue cat, white and black crappie, spotted bass, black bass, hybrid bass, and of course the notorious Asian carp. So
now, did you snag that Asian carp or?
Yes.
Okay, and that's pretty much the only way to catch
it. Right, and I wasn't going to count them, but Katie was like, "Well, you're catching them on a rod and reel, and so you probably should count them." But I've been actually keeping track of those, and I may later on down the road take those numbers completely out. So
you could always put an asterisk next to them and be fine with it, right?
I could, yeah, I could. But yeah, I've got a certain goal in mind, and I'm not going to say what the goal is. Certain people know, but I mean, it's a high number of how many fish I want to get this year, and I'm praying to God I can either wrap myself in bubble wrap and finish out the year strong, or something. I'm gonna have to start fishing in some Bass Pro aquarium or something, because it's not looking good right now, folks.
You got plenty of time to catch up, and if you don't make that number, there's always next year, right?
Oh yeah, this is true.
It's not going to kill you, and the chase is what it's all about. But those are some pretty impressive numbers there, James. I have to admit. So, have you gotten out in the last week or so to fish?
I think I fished 3 or 4 days last week. I've taken the last 2 days off. One, because today I had a doctor's appointment to get that boot removed, but I'm going straight at it hot and heavy tomorrow morning. I'm going to start back up, and I'm going to go down to Thomas Hill, and I think we're just going to sit down there most of the day and just see how many of these we can knock out. So just going after eater size channel cat. That's all we're doing.
There you go.
Pan size.
Pan size. What do you consider them? Fiddlers, whole fryers? What do you call them?
I just call them eaters. I've heard people call them fiddlers. I've heard them, unders and all that other stuff. To us, it's just food.
Yeah, Hilljack Catfishing says that the wind has him all messed up. It's been the same here.
It does here too.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to combat the wind on windy days. You have any tips for the people out there when you're out there looking, whether it's crappie, bluegill, even eater, panfish, eater catfish, or whatever, or is it pretty much a lost cause?
Not necessarily. Depending on how long or how many windy days there are. If you have like 3 or 4 good windy days, like up here where we live, there's a constant breeze blowing through here, or a constant wind, and most of the time it's usually 10 to 15 miles an hour. So if it blows out of the north or the south, whatever direction for 3 or 4 days, well, we're going to fish whatever opposite end of that lake or pond that the wind's blowing at, because it's blowing all that nutrients and stuff like that, and the smaller fish are chasing that, and the bigger fish are chasing those. So we'll usually try to find some place to get out of the wind, and that's a good portion of the time. Is why I don't go live a lot when I am out fishing, is because I can't stand the wind.
The wind noise, yeah, that's bad.
The wind noise is just horrible. So
Eric Massey,
I know enough places. Oh, hey, Eric.
Yeah.
I know enough places around here that I can get out of the wind. So I try to as much as I can, but it still doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, and on a boat, if you're not fishing docks, get the nose, like Eric is saying, get the nose of the boat into the wind. But sometimes when you're bank fishing, you're pretty much at the mercy. If it's pretty windy out, when I say pretty windy, I won't fish anything over 20 miles an hour, definitely 15 miles an hour probably. I'll try to pick a spot, not where the fish are going to be biting most likely, but where I'm fishing into the wind, just like I would be on a boat. So that kind of works out for me. Not always great, but it's the best you can do. Sometimes you just got to get out and fish, kind of get that your fishing zen time in, right?
Yep. See, and a lot of times if it's really windy, like the other day we had gusts up to about 45 miles an hour go through here. On those really, really, truly windy days where you can't cast into the wind, I will go and find a small lake or a creek bank or something like that, and I'll start catching creek chubs. I'll start catching small panfish that are inside that creek, small mud cats or whatever you want to call them, yellow cats, brown cats, and I'm constantly looking for that next big fish. whether it is a big catfish or a big, sunfish of some sort.
Absolutely. I've been on a hot crappie bite up until this week. They left the flats here where I fish pretty much. The rivers have been the Fox River Waterway Agency has pretty much emptied the lakes, trying to get ready for those spring rains, and they didn't come this year. Usually we don't have too much flooding. On rare occasion we do. But the problem is they were trying to minimize high water levels to where boating wasn't allowed because that's lost revenue for them. And it kind of bit them this year. So everything I've been hearing from like Ryan over Setting Hooks, a couple of my friends out on Facebook and stuff, that the water is way low. I called one of my spots up, which happens to be right behind a bait shop that lets us fish back there, and the channels are empty. And right now they're in the channels for some reason. I can't figure out why they're in there this time of year. It doesn't make sense. Maybe it's similar to the flats, but that's so low I can't even get my boat into those channels. So I'm kind of in a waiting game right now. It says they're doing repairs. Lock is stuck wide open till they repair it, is what he's telling me. Okay, that's Ryan and Chad. What's going on, Ryan? And I did see, I think it was Ratfish 1000, if I got your name wrong. I saw you scroll by here. Welcome. We're kicking 66 people in here, and I saw a question from Stan, I think. Stan. All right. As an honor to Lyle Stokes, please share out Catfish Weekly as much as you, or Panfish Weekly, like Panfish Nation, maybe. An honor. Oh, wait, he's having him as a guest on Monday. Very cool. Congratulations, Stan. That's right. He's going to be on there with James. And what's that guy's name that's going to be with James on Monday nights?
Chadwick.
That's right. Chadwick. Congratulations on that again, Chad. Can't say it enough, buddy.
Right. I think
and it looks like
pretty cool for Lyle to have him do that.
So I figured I'm going to switch it up, go after some channel cats again. Hopefully this weekend, at least do a little bank fishing. I don't know if I'll get the boat out. It's either go fishing or stay home and get the boat fished. It is Easter weekend for us, so I'm having family over tomorrow, and then we have to go over to family on Sunday. So Saturday will be my only day to either fish or get my boat totally ready to go. And when I mean that, it's ready to go, James. I just got to clean out and make sure nothing died in the compartments is what I'm thinking. Make sure the batteries are changed up and we're good. All right, so when you're chasing fish from the bank or panfish, even the eater size channels, is there anything you do that you'd like to share with the people in chat?
Yeah, the first thing I'll do, and I think this is a program that a lot of people overlook more than they do anything else, and that is Google Earth Pro. Between Google Earth and Google Earth Pro, those are two of the most visited sites that I will use, because with Google Earth Pro, you can actually go back over the years from the time that they started taking satellite imaging all the way up. And what I'm looking for is, if I'm fishing a new body of water, I'm looking all around where access one that I think I can get to. The current, models of the images and stuff like that, they might be a year to 2 years old from Google Earth. So, but if you go scroll back, you can see where, all the trees are, that kind of stuff. What I'm looking for is right along the edge of the water. I'm looking to see if a tree might have fallen in one year, maybe slid out a little bit more. To me, it's the structure that I'm looking for. Or I'm looking for where a creek bed might be running into it, especially if I'm going after, especially catfish and crappie both. I will fish the mouth of an old creek bed, because even during high water, when you get a lot of rain and stuff like that, it may be, small little trees or small sticks that are going to be pushed back out into that lake. And there's going to be an eddy created, and it's going to settle. And it may not seem like a lot to these people with, the new electronics and stuff like that, is, that's just a little, pile of small sticks. But if you think about it, that is structure for anything. And at some point in time, I've seen massive crappie pulled off of, tiny crappie beds, and even where an old tree was that might have only been 4 or 5 inches around, but it's still there. They're still hanging around that area. So that's mainly what I start looking for if I'm going to fish a new body of water. Is I'll go with Google Earth first, then I'll hit Google Earth Pro, and I'll go back through the years, and I'm looking for those marks. Another thing I'll also do is I'll hit up the Missouri Department of Conservation website and find out if they've actually done any work there, whether it's management, what the links are, the legal links, whether it's crappie, catfish, something like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to go to their page where they've actually marked where they might have dropped crappie beds or that kind of stuff, or as most of you know, a fishing dock or something like that. So
it makes a lot of sense too. Yeah, I like to hit up the DNR website to see what the stocking was and what their plans are and stuff like that. It gives you a little bit of insight on what to expect when you get there. Like you've been. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up that I like to keep in mind when I'm fishing, and I'm definitely going to check out that Google Pro, is old timber versus new timber. You're going to find a lot more fish on the old stuff than you are the new stuff. I only bring that up so the people in chat realize that. So if you see a pile of old logs out there or old branches, old brush pile or whatever, hit that first. The new ones, sure, they're going to hold some fish, but not like this. I've also come in scenarios where I'm fishing flats for crappie or even bluegill or whatever. And I happen to know it's really early in the season in Illinois here. So vegetation hasn't come back. And I'll see one stick in the water, and guess where the fish are hanging out?
Oh yeah,
right at that stick.
Right there.
And they'll move if the wind goes to blow that stick around. As long as some of it's underwater, they'll cling to that thing. So keep an eye on stuff like that, people, when you're out there pan fishing. So I do see outside with the haze. Hey, thanks for coming in outside with the haze. And I did see another Dockery, fine young gentleman. Where is he? Is it Bowen or Bowden, James? Bowen, right?
It's Bowen. Yeah, it's
Bowen. Welcome. Glad to have you and your brother here. There he is.
His wife is so much nicer though than he is, and such a sweetheart. She really is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Even with in-laws like you.
Well, yeah. I mean, and me and her, I mean, we understand each other, and we have the understanding that if something ever happens between the two of them, we get her in the divorce. So that's it's just the way it is.
He's on his own.
Yeah.
Big Hook, welcome. And so tell me about. I know your children are a little bit older.
Stan had a question about how much Google Earth Pro is, and I'm not for sure. When it comes to technology and stuff like that, I usually hand my computer and over to Katie and go, here, baby, I this is what I need. And she does it as Mark is smiling because he knows this is true. He's actually seen me do it. But they actually have a free version of Google Earth Pro. You just have to go and look it up online. So.
Just looking for some more questions here. Okay, so I wanted to bring up. I know you have some. You have some children that are out of the house. I know you have one young one that's still in the house. How do you treat fishing with kids? And you do a lot of this for the Missouri Department of Conservation too. So I wanted to take a little time to talk about this stuff.
For the most part, if I'm taking a small kid fishing, I won't even take my fishing equipment. If I have to take them a fishing pole, that's fine, whatever. But for the majority part, depending on how old they are, it's all about them. All right. I want them to be able to get down there in the water. I want to put them on, 1 to 20 fish, depending on how long they want to stay. And when they're done and they want to go, that's it. We pack up, and we're gone. And it's either, okay, we're going to hit a different spot, or we're just done for the day. Because the last thing you want to do is get a kid out there and spend 8 hours with, a kid that doesn't want to be there more than 20 or 30 minutes. So if they want to go fishing, take them fishing. Just expect, to come home at pretty early, or earlier than what you would like to have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I've always handled it. Unless it was my oldest son, and then it's like, no, you're staying out here with me. And if it was my youngest son, we were always going bluegill fishing. He loves bluegill fishing, guys. I mean, I'm serious. You should ask him about that. Yeah.
Who doesn't love bluegill fishing? There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah, but here's why he hates bluegill fishing. Is the way that we taught the kids how to play is we'd go down to the farm ponds and we would catch 20 or 30 bluegill. And we would bring them home, and we would make the kids learn how to fillet fish off of bluegill. Even the small ones that we caught, we would make them fillet. And Bowen would mess them up more often than not. So he was stuck on bluegill duty for years, a lot longer than Harley was, and all this stuff. But he finally got married and ran away from home, and now I have no one to clean my bluegill. And even his wife, she's trying to figure out a way to get him back up here without him knowing about it, to do just that, just to go bluegill fishing. So
yeah, he says he's ready to have you come teach your grandson to fish. So that's always cool. That's got to be special. I know you're a pretty big family guy, as much as people give you the business. So how important is it for the young kids, when you take young kids, for them to catch fish?
I think it is. I mean, the way I look at it is if they're not going out and they're not actually catching fish, especially when they're young, when they're a little bit older, they'll understand not every time you go out will you catch a fish. So if I'm taking a small kid out for the first time, or the 10th time, I'm taking him to a place that I know the fish are, and they're thick. And, chances are it's a small fishing pond, it's a small city lake, something to where I know that they're going to catch fish. And that's usually the way that it is for, I don't know, at least the first year. And eventually they'll get to the point of they're tired of catching, the small ones. Or I've been known to take them down during carp season for snagging, and that gets them hooked quick. I mean, you hook into a 5 or a 10 pound carp on what essentially is an ultralight fishing
That's an
rod.
Asian carp you're talking about, right?
That is it.
Okay.
There's Asian carp, there's buffalo, smallmouth buffalo, and largemouth buffalo inside these.
Okay.
And Asian is also called silver carp, yes.
Okay.
But you get them hooked onto that, and that's all they want to talk about. I mean, they're ready to go back the very next day, and you get messages from their parents going, "What did you do to my child?" Now, he won't stop talking about going fishing, and so it's pretty funny.
And Bowen's saying that I can personally say that he is great fishing with kids. He actually helped me get my state record and let me catch it when he knew that the fish was in that area, and he let me have it for myself.
Yeah.
See, you're not so mean and grumpy after all.
Well, I know, but you
want me to have him booted so it keeps your cover, or what?
Oh, that would be funny. So
make the request. Like, we got some moderators in there. I remember taking my nieces bluegill fishing when we had our camper out in Darlington, Wisconsin. Our camper was in a park, right? And they had like a little 10-acre lake, if even that. And we would just bluegill fish like every Saturday and Sunday morning where we were there, and they would have a blast. But you're absolutely right. I didn't get much fishing done at all.
No. And you'll get more frustrated, and it just seems like I've seen parents take it out on kids because they'll get hung up on a rock or a tree, and they'll snap the line off, and the parent is basically, you can tell they're getting frustrated because they want to fish, And it's best just to leave your stuff at home and concentrate on, teaching that kid how to fish, how to properly hold that fish, how to properly release the fish, all this stuff. So
absolutely.
But somebody in there said that I've got a lot of different fish in my ponds. I'm fishing. I very seldom do I ever fish my own fishing ponds here on the house. I'm going to Thomas Hill. I'm going to Long Branch. I'm going to the Mississippi, the Missouri, Thomas Hill, Mark Twain. I just, if there's a new spot that I haven't fished, we're driving to it at some point in time throughout the year.
Absolutely. I can attest to that too, because I know when he's out fishing and stuff and seldom isn't in his own pond. So somebody asked out here if we fished hilljack. Y'all ever fish for shell crackers? I don't have any in my area. I don't know about you, James. Do you have any shell crackers in your area?
Oh yeah, we do.
You do? Yeah. I haven't come across any yet, but if after the show, if you'd like to go back on the Panfish Weekly, we have a guest, John Jeffcoat. He's he's got some big shell crackers, monster ones that he actually showed us the taxidermy work during the show. So I highly recommend you go back and check that if you're in the shell crackers. He had a lot to say. Fishing stuff. What's going on, Keith? How you doing, bud? We all talking brim. What is brim?
What is brim? What is
I don't know. What is brim?
Yeah. Well, there's so many different names out there for all these fish, and I'm not trying to throw Creel under a bus because he is the bus driver and we would all crash with him. But they've got so many different names for fish down there. There's so many different names for fish up here. There's so many, all this stuff. But we're talking, you've got bluegill, you've got red-eared sunfish, green-eared sunfish, orange-spotted sunfish, pumpkin seed, lock, filler, Ozarks, shadowback, all these different names that the conservation department has labeled these fish, and most people will go, oh, that's a brim, or that's a bluegill.
That's a bluegill.
And yeah, so they're all classified as, either brim or bluegill to a lot of people.
I've always called them bluegill. This is pretty much what I call them. I call them red breasts because those are the really big ones I catch, right? Green sunfish because that's like my main source of flathead bait, right? And then there's bluegills, but I know there's pumpkin seeds and regulars and hybrids and all of those. So you could get really into it, but make it as complicated as you want to. If you're into identifying those species, checking them off a list, let's say you want to catch all the species of panfish, more power to you. That's actually a goal that I've been considering taking on maybe in the next year since I've been asked to help out with the show. I think that would be kind of cool to do, maybe even do like a video over a long period of time of the actual chase them all down. But that might mean a trip to somewhere where there are said shell crackers, and I could think of a worse thing to do. I can think of two people I'd like to fish for shell crackers with, and one of them's in Texas and one of them's in Carolina.
Yeah, this is true. There are some of the species that we have here in Missouri that are in southern Missouri. So it's one of those. I plan on making a trip down south this year and staying a couple of days and fishing around in that area with a couple of people, Mo Creek, Parker Pursuits, the old guy Lyle Stokes, and some of the others down through that way. But they've got some fish that we don't have up here as far as the sunfish grouping that I would love to go after and mark those off my little bucket list of fish that I want to, to be able to say, hey, yeah, I got one. And as we have yellow perch up here in a lake not that far from us, and those have been my Achilles heel. I have picked your brain. I have picked your brain. I've picked other people's brains. Almost 3 weeks straight, almost every single day, I was down there on that water trying to hook into one, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't find them. So yeah, I'm still not giving up yet.
Unless it's the right time of year, I can't really target them. But boom, they'll show up out of nowhere every now and then for me. around here. If I go north, they're a little more, and I can't tell you how much how delicious those little swimming fish sticks are. It tastes like crappie only in fish stick form. So, and you can get them pretty big. We got to go. We need to go perch fishing either downtown. I don't know if I can get you into the city, or we can just drive like we were talking up to what pool is that? Where that barge is at? Clements Barges.
That would be Lock and Dam number 8.
Number 8, yeah. They have some big jumbos in there. That might be that's a trip for us to make.
We were this close to going up there this year, and Katie was like, "Well, you've got Mendota already, and then you've got going to Southern Missouri." So, but she's mad at me because she lost a bet again.
What was the wager?
Whether or not I was actually going to have surgery on my foot, and I was saying no, I was not going to get surgery done on my foot. And she was hoping, I think she was hoping that they were going to cut me open. Everyone thinks she's all sweet and innocent, and she's not. So,
how dare you? She's a fine young lady.
Yes.
Sweet thing.
Yes.
All right. So, when do panfish really start doing well by you? What kind of weather conditions, rather than just time of year? Let's go into detail so people can relate to conditions, amount of sunlight, things like that in their areas, because everybody's different.
Usually the first part of the second the ice starts coming off the waters here in Missouri, about maybe a week after that, you'll start catching some decent sized panfish up in where you could find, I say, lily pads or the edge of weed lines and stuff like that. They're staging up in there. This year it was, I want to say it was about a week and a half ago. I was just knocking big massive bluegills.
I saw those pictures.
Red ear sunfish, and I was fishing in 3 feet of water, and probably not more than 10 feet out from the bank. So, I mean, any time of year is really, really good if you get the right conditions. And we're talking the wind's been blowing in the right way. You can catch any type of fish anywhere if you know exactly, how they're staging up, when they're staging up. And that's why, I mean, people don't realize this. I've got hundreds of books on all different types of North American fish that I am constantly reading up on. I'm constantly reading up on their habitats, their life cycles, their, what they're classified as, why, when they're breeding, when they're not, because I want to be able to understand when I hit a body of water, whether it's in my kayak or a boat or a fishing tube, that I can go and target those fish immediately. I'm not, searching around, because I'm not using electronics. All I'm doing is I'm sight fishing. If I see a weed line, I'm thinking, okay, this is, a weed line that, is going to hold some fish, whether it's a bass, a sunfish, a crappie, something like that. So, I mean, now would be a perfect time to get out and get on some of these, even in your bigger bodies of water. This lake that I was fishing at was Lake Show Me over in Memphis, Missouri. And it's a fairly decent sized lake. But it's got some monster bluegill and red-eared sunfish in it that, I mean, a lot of people would just love to have. We're talking 9.5, 10-inch fish. So
very cool stuff. Up here, it's a little different. Our ice goes out pretty close to the same time yours does, but our weather lags a while. So you guys are getting warmed up. You've had a couple of 70-degree days. Am I not mistaken? Yeah. I think we've had one. So basically the crappie will come in before that, because crappie aren't as temperature. Well, they're not as air temperature sensitive as bluegills and some fish. I'm starting to learn as we're moving forward. So usually what happens is around the time the daffodils start to pop is when the crappies are in the flats, right after the ice, and then sometimes daffodils. That's when they're in first. That's when they're full blown. That's one of the things I've noticed. Don't use that as a thing. I'm just kind of comparing it to. And by the time they're kind of died down and the tulips are starting to pop, is when the panfish up here start to do pretty well. So
right. And a lot of times what I usually tell people is is if when I say, when I give information, say like the state of Missouri, the length of crappie, how it grows, and all this stuff. It's different for every state. It's different from every body of water that you ever fish in. I mean, just because you're catching fish in one area of a lake, you go to a different lake and you're thinking, okay, well, this is kind of the same depth, and it's the same structure, all this stuff. Surely I'm going to do really, really good here with these fish. You don't necessarily do that well because it's a totally different body of water. So I mean, you have to do your homework, and your due diligence. And don't get me wrong, there are several of those days I have fished this year, came back home with big goose eggs.
Yeah, me too.
I couldn't find them. No matter what I did, what I threw, they just were not interested. I could see fish hitting the tops of the water, and so I knew they had moved up, but they just, nothing I had were was interesting enough for them to get on.
Yeah, I agree. So what's your baits of choice when you're chasing panfish, James?
What's that?
What are your baits of choice for chasing panfish? What do you like to use?
I'm going to go with, there's three types that I will go with. One would be a tube jig, always a tube jig. I mean, I've got thousands upon thousands of those in my bag. I'm going to go with the solid body of either, a small curly tail, and we're talking micro curly tail. And if all push, comes to shove, I'm going to use a night crawler. But that's only for, the bluegill and, shell crackers and that kind of stuff. But for the majority part, I'm throwing small plastic jigs, tube jigs. And it could be anywhere from a 16th ounce all the way down to 164, just to get them to fall that much shorter or slower. So
slower.
That's and there are times when trolling behind a kayak or a tube, you're kicking, you save your life when you're doing the trolling behind a tube. If the wind's not blowing, but I'll troll them behind. I'll slow roll them, just throwing out as far as I can and reeling them back in. And others times I'm putting it on a weighted bobber at a certain depth, and I'm just setting it there, and I'm popping it slowly just to get that little bit of a jerk reaction, and having that lure come up and slowly fall back down. More than likely, so many times we'll actually get a crappie or a bluegill to strike that bait.
I think a big misconception with a lot of people is that the size of a jig head and the weight of a jig head has to do with the size of the fish you want to catch when it doesn't. When you're talking panfish and stuff, you're talking about rate of fall, if anything. Sometimes they like that fast falling bait where they're very reactive, and sometimes they just want to be teased, so to speak, by just watching falling until they can't take it anymore. So right. If you're looking for jigs, it's always
right. And there's also times when, if you're fishing, say off of a dock or off of a boat or something like that, and you know that there's fish down there and they're not hitting on that fall, if you just take it and you slowly start to bring that jig up, and we're just talking an inch or so, and then counting 1, 2, and you're just slowly bringing it up, sometimes that'll trigger them. It depends on the day of the week. You literally have to try everything in your arsenal to get these fish to bite.
Which is why the good thing about ice fishing is you can see all that happen on a flasher. You can absolutely see the reaction. You can see when you make a wrong move. You can see when you make a right move. You can see the difference in choosing and changing the type of bait. That's why open water fishing is a little more difficult for smaller fish, because you're not seeing what the reaction is. Even if you have a boat sonar, unless it's live scope, you're not seeing the reaction, which is why electronics like live scope and Mega and all of that stuff, and the new Mega Live and the Lowrance products and stuff are really blowing people's minds, because they're seeing what ice fishermen have seen forever. which is part of the reason people are really ice fishing fanatics. I mean, I've had a time where I fished, for like an hour straight with nothing, and I could see them on the bottom. But as soon as I changed to a color and a longer profile, they came screaming up. It was ridiculous. Yep. I don't think it was time of day. It was in the middle of the day, so the sun didn't really move that far in the sky. Plus, there was 4 inches of snow on the ice, so they would know it anyways.
Right.
Stuff like that. Just keep trying until something works. But you got to make sure there's actual fish there. And a lot of times, somebody asks me if I used minnows when I'm crappie fishing. If I'm in like unfamiliar water, I'll start with minnows. I'm not too proud to use a minnow and a float. On a Aberdeen hook, if you can get them to, but sometimes you can't even get them to bite on a minnow where you can on a jig, which is still something that I'm trying to figure out some sort of way of dividing and conquering them up when it comes to that. But we'll get it figured out. Well, I think that's going to be a gut thing more than anything that comes after time.
Right. And there shouldn't be any. I mean, there's no shame in going after crappie with minnows or
none at all.
Cut bait. For catfish, all that stuff. It's whatever you're comfortable with is what, and if you know that something that you have in your tackle box works, use it. Don't pay attention to, what everybody else is using. And I've told this story before and I'll tell it again. I've studied water, I know what color to use, when the water's, a shade off of clear or stained or whatever the case may be. And every single time I take Katie crappie fishing, she will outfish me hands down because she will look inside my crappie bag and go, oh, well, that's a pretty color, and put that on. And she's just knocking them left and right. And it's just, it's nothing that I've done wrong, and it's nothing that she's doing extremely right because, she's sitting right over there. And so I can't say that she's actually right or she'll do the whole I told you so. But, a lot of it comes down just to luck of the draw. You can be marking fish left and right. If those fish are not interested in what you're putting down there in front of their face, they're just not going to bite it.
I agree. Let's say hello to Jim, Kentucky Catman Outdoors Adventures. Hey, what's going on, Jim?
Hey, Jim.
I also saw Ace come in there and say hello. What's going on, Ace? Let's talk a little bit about tying jigs. You guys know that we do that on Saturday nights every now and then. It's become an addiction for at least the 3 of us and a bunch of other people. I even saw Gabby's dad put out a video today about tying a jig. He tied a skipjack jig today, which was kind of cool. He was using a little bit of ribbon that I haven't seen as of yet, but it looked like it would definitely catch fish. How's your jig tying experience come along so far? Is it fulfilling, frustrating? Are you trying to catch fish on what you're tying?
Yeah, I'm trying to catch fish. My problem is I bit off way more than I can chew. All right, you guys got to talking about these, tying up your own jigs and how much fun it was and all this stuff. And so I went down to Bass Pro Shop. I begged and pleaded Katie to, let me buy everything I needed. Had to throw myself on the floor, kicking and screaming like a toddler, and I eventually got it just to shut me up. And then got back here and I ordered 1,000 jig heads. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to paint them myself. And that just did not go over well at all. So I ordered another 500 and had them shipped to somebody else to have them painted for me. And, and Eric Massey's the one that's painting them for me, and he does beautiful work. So, but no,
I got some coming from Eric too.
I know. And he got a hold of me. He's like, man, he goes, because I am swamped. It's going to be wild. I'm like, hey, I understand. He's a busy man. He does great work. So, when they get here, they get here. So for now, I'm hand painting each jig head. So, but no, it's actually kind of fun, really. I mean, it's
a lot of fun. I thought it would be worse. My vision isn't the greatest, and I thought it would be a lot worse than it was, but I think it went fairly well. We'd given away a couple of jigs we said about Ohio, and for life, Matt says that he hasn't gotten his yet. I sent him regular mail. I'm hoping that's what's happening. It's got to be maybe a week today that I sent it out. So let's give it a couple more days. I apologize for that. But yeah, just so you guys all know, we do tie them every now and then. You got to be subscribed to the channel, have the bell notification on, so you'll see them pop up on Saturday nights, whether or not we're doing it. So we may start announcing it. It's pretty much a, hey, what's going on? What are you doing type of thing. And we can have like either 2 of us, 3 of us, 4 of us on there, and we all kind of just hang out and do that. And it's a good time. We're, as far as me and James, we're no pros. Am I wrong in saying that, no. James, or no?
No, you are dead on. I am still struggling,
but
with the whole.
Added to that, the first one I tied, I caught a fish on. I caught a bunch of fish on the first one I ever tied, which just goes to prove that it's not as difficult as you think. Right. And I was kind of worried about it.
Right. I was using some of mine for crappie fishing earlier, and I'm catching some crappie. They're not big monstrous ones, but I don't think the big ones have moved up yet. These are just the small ones that are being chased by something bigger that are like, I'm going to get one last meal before I bite the big one. So, but I've been doing all right.
I picked up, I think it was like I'm going to guess right around a 2-pound bass. It was a pretty decent bass. I'm probably underestimating it to begin with. And a bunch of smaller crappie with them. So it was kind of fun. It was a simple pattern. It was easy to do. I mean, I went out and I bought a kit. Actually, I got the kit from, what was it, from Cabela's. It was on sale at Christmas time. I think it was a whole $39. It came with all the hardware needed. All I had to do was go out and get, the jig heads and whatever, fancy.
Well, these are the ones that Gabby's dad sent me. Let me see if I can get that.
Oh, those are cool. Yeah, he was talking about them earlier. I think he wanted you to show them off.
There you go.
Those are cool.
Those are cool. And I haven't had a chance to use them yet, mainly because they've been sitting up on the bait cooler, and every time I get ready to go, I just totally space them. But I'm gonna give them a shot. Like I said, we're going catfishing tomorrow morning for most of the day, and if we can get a limit of channel cats, then we're gonna probably switch over and go after some crappie if the wind's not too terribly bad. So I may try to remember to take those and see how well they do.
My biggest concern about this is that I'm gonna pick up a fly rod one of these days, and it's going to go from not just having catfish gear, crappie gear, it's got to have fly tying stuff and fly rod and reel.
Yeah. And well, and rumor has it somebody has got a new fly tying device that they're going to be playing around with too. So we're going to have to, they're going to be learning about that. So it's going to be a fun experience for all the way around.
That'll be good. Hopefully we'll be able to do that on here. That'll be kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I've never used a fly rod. I think it would be actually something I'd kind of like to try at least once, but just to say I've done it.
We have our stocker trout season here, right? In the fall, they stock a place that's actually an old hatchery that went out of business. So it's a big concrete pool, pretty much, like the size, like maybe 4 or 5 Olympic swimming pools, I want to say. I'm guessing, don't quote me on that. So they stock that in the fall, and then they stock one of the forest preserves here in the spring, and that's just in my county. Those are the only 2 places. Well, there's 3 places. The third one's way northwest of here. It's a creek that they stock in, and I'm not big on wearing waders. Being a big guy, it's kind of not my thing. So I fished those, and the last time we were in there was a guy fishing for trout with a fly rod. Nobody was catching anything, and he was slaying them one after another. He had his limit in like no time, because here the DNR wants you to take everything you catch. So he was in and out in like 20 minutes. Hit his 5 and he was done. He was kind of upset. He wanted to sit there and play with his little streamer.
Right. The place that's down the road from us that they usually put trout in, they'll put it in November, and you're not allowed to keep any of them until the first part of February. So it's all catch and release. So I mean, and you see guys down there just fly fishing every single day, and they
do that here too. 2 weeks prior to opening day is catch and release, no barb fly fishing. They let you do that.
Yeah. Up here, it's no scent. You can't have anything that's scented, no type of worm or bait or, anything like that.
So you could use like panther martins and stuff?
Or fly. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And, that's another thing that I like doing at a couple of my panfish spots is getting like the smallest panther martin I can find. I like the black one with the yellow dots and the gold spinner. That's probably my favorite. And panfish will bite that just like anything else will. Just get yourself a real small one, get some really light line, get yourself a nice limber ultralight rod, and have at it. And I'll tell you what, you catch one of them 8-inch red belly sunfish on an ultralight with 3-pound test and on a little panther martin, it's really, really fun.
Oh,
that's a good time. So
yep.
So how often are you using stuff like that, or are you just jigging for panfish mostly?
I'm mainly jigging for panfish. I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love dead sticking for panfish, or it's kind of funny. I will stop bluegill fishing and pan fishing altogether once they start to spawn. Once they start to dig their nests and stuff like that, I'll stay away from the bluegill and the shell crackers and stuff like that, because I don't want to disturb that nesting site or anything like that. So I tend to leave them alone, and I'll go after crappie, or I'll go after channel cats or something like that. But for the most part, I mean, I'm throwing a lure constantly. I'm throwing something somewhere, whether if it's in a creek, if it's in a big river. As you guys know, I love catching silver cats. It's a hobby of mine. Yeah. But,
is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm calling it. But no, we spend a lot of time fishing the big rivers and stuff like that. And what we'll do over there, even for panfish, we'll just throw out a night crawler and just let it sit there on the bottom in the current. And you never know what you're going to catch over on the river. So, and that's the fun part about it.
Nightcrawler is probably the best bait for all fish. You're always going to catch something. Somebody asked in Catfish Weekly once, what's the best bait for catfish? And everybody's saying, shad, bluegill, chicken, stink bait, liver, and I'm like, worms.
Night crawlers. Yep.
Night crawlers.
Oh yeah.
And nobody could argue with it. They're all like, yeah, I guess you kind of got a point, but that's true for any breed of fish. That they'll all bite it, and some do better with red worms. Yeah, yep. Red worms and stuff. There's all sorts of it. But, I mean, when that water gets up onto the grass, what do you think they're eating, people? That's how they know what night crawlers are. When I was a real young man, I was like, I'd ask my grandfather, I'm like, how do they even know what a worm is? But they seem to know. They really know.
Yep.
They really, really know.
Yeah, somebody put in their Catalpa worms. We've got one of the trees here. And so far, I have yet to find any of them on there, and it's just irritating to me. So,
aren't you a little far north for them? That's a south thing, isn't it?
The trees are all over the place up through here, and we had a lady that I had traded a whole bunch of mushrooms because she was digging trees up out of her yard, small little saplings, and I was like, hey, I'll trade you a bag of mushrooms for a couple of those trees, and she took me up on it. Nice. So. I planted those, and now I've got a big Catalpa tree in my yard, and it's like, all right, guys, come on, let's get some of those worms that everyone keeps talking about going. So
Papa Ed says a good one too. He said crickets.
Yes,
that's a really good bait too. That's a fun one to fish with too, because you can see them top strikes. That's always fun. Even the little plastic ones that you get in the from Berkeley, those phony ones, they actually don't work half bad either. I've had some pretty good success with them in my day, so they're always fun to see them hit. And that's another thing. I think somebody asked earlier about poppers. That might be something fun to tie and try. That's something that I'm willing to look into. See, that's where I kind of. That's the whole thing about panfish. You can just try different things and see how successful you can be. Try to master, using this bait or that bait. I have some micro crankbaits. I might send you a couple, James. You might get a package one of these days. Those are pretty fun to catch them on. Just pretty cool stuff.
And the one thing, I mean, I stress to people, all the time, you do not always catch fish. You don't always. I mean, you can even go out with red worms and still not catch, fish that time. So, and it's just the enjoyment of being out there, being off the internet, away from the drama and the news and all that stuff. That's what keeps me going. I want to be out there on the water or near the water, or I'm out in the timber doing something, or I'm always out, exploring or doing something. And like I said, this year has bit me in the butt because of that stupid foot injury, and I'm looking forward to actually getting back out there now.
You still did all right.
You're
still doing all right. Don't even quit complaining, or don't even start complaining.
No, I am going to complain. I am complaining. I mean, it's really limited me as far as And the sad thing is it's forced me to fish more around these docks, and you guys have ruined dock fishing for me. So can't go anywhere without you guys playing or recording.
On that note, James, it's been a pleasure talking to you like it always is. I always have a lot of fun doing that. If you're listening at home and you're not logged in, or you're not in chat, and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to Panfish Nation. We really appreciate it. We have a lot of guests. Our back catalog has guests like Babe Winkleman in it, definitely.
Yes.
Me and Lyle do solo chats. We do our fly tying. We have O'Neill Williams on there. He's one of them. And we got some pretty big ones coming too. There's a lot of knowledge. We like to hang out. We like to talk more of a family-orientated fishing that everybody in this country does. I don't care what kind of fisherman you are. I know salmon guys who go for panfish. I know bass guys that go for panfish. Everybody catches them. So we really appreciate it. So please hit the like on your way out. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Also, I'm going to plug my channel, Catfish and Crappie. If you are a subscriber already, I got a new video out. I do a review of the Whisker Seekers multi-tackle box month 2. You can check that out. That was kind of a cool, fun video to do. I get to act kind of like a fool at the beginning, which was a new experience. Well, no, I'm a fool all the time, so I'm not going to say it's a new experience.
It's not new, Mark. It's not new.
Thanks again to Lyle for letting us have this opportunity to be on Panfish Nation. We really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. So I'm going to ask the producer. We're going to say goodnight. You can take us out of this, Mr. Producer. We'll talk to you later.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Now we're stuck here.
Yeah, let's see if he leaves us hanging here.
He's wandered. He's wandered off yet again.
He is. He's leaving us. We can keep talking.
Oh, I said, sure. Why not? I mean,
Catfish Weekly on Monday. Make sure you check that out. Roger tomorrow. Not Roger tomorrow. I'm sorry. You got Stan tomorrow. Stan and Creole tomorrow. Saturday is Mike Greenwald. Sunday is Palmetto and Avid. Monday, you got Chad and James on Catfish Weekly. On Lyle's Catfish Weekly, we're going to call that. You sending him a message?
No, I'm telling your brother something. So.
Oh, okay. And Tuesday, and Monday after Catfish Weekly is my show, the Catfish and Crappie Show. I gotta still find a guest. I had a guest cancel on me. We'll get it worked out. Tuesday is going to be a Flint Hill Catfishing on Rogers show, so I'm looking forward to that. And Wednesdays, obviously, is Patriot James Catfishing. So if I've missed anybody, Stan fishes on Sundays. And help me out here, James.
I have no idea. I really don't, and I'm concentrating on other things. Katie has bothered me, guys. I mean, she really and truly is today. So I've had to yell at her multiple times today so far. Be nice to me. Oh, Creole, from the bank to the boat tomorrow night. That's who the other one was with Stan.
That's the Stan and Creoles from bank to bolt.
Yep.
Bank to
that's what it is.
Boat. I was a guest on that show last Friday. I had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
There you go. All righty. Well, I suppose one of us probably ought to get a hold of Cindy or Lyle and,
If I could, we could invite guests on here if we knew how to. If we'd make sure he'd let them in.
And Christine is yelling at me now about Katie. I'm apparently not supposed to be messing with Katie anymore.
Let's see what people are saying in chat here. Two Stan's Fishing is the guest on Monday night. Stan is reminding us. I'm sure he's super excited about that. Do I have any more hats? Here's a breaking. I've said this, but I am in the process of getting a store set up. And this store is going to be like a 2-week sale. Once the sale's over, then we print to order and they'll go out. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I got your standard stuff and hopefully a couple of surprises for everybody, and they'll like it. Eric Burnside, if you're still here, yes, a beanie is going to be included in that if you choose to, or a boggin, whatever you call it, depending on the part of the country you're from. They will be available there. Still scrolling through here. We're talking about crickets, Catawba worms. I thought Catawba worms were just the name of the Catawbas, not the actual tree, James. I learned something new tonight.
No, it's a tree. Yep. Here's something that you guys may not know. Like a male bluegill, a smaller male bluegill, a true bluegill, if the big, larger males are already on their beds and stuff like that, they will actually change their colors to look like a female, to go in there and sneak in there and, have their way with the females and not get run off by the big males.
I did not know that. Sneakers.
Yes. Sneakers.
All right, Lyle, I think we're ready, buddy. Why don't you take us out of here? Good night, everybody, again.